How's everything going?
It is good. Good. It's early here. It's only 7:30, but
7:30. Wow. So you're where? Like in Hawaii, you said?
yeah, yeah.
Which island in Hawaii?
Oahu?
Okay. Okay. So were you born there or did you move there or like how did that
No,
happen?
no. I'm actually a Floridian.
Okay.
So yeah, I lived there my whole life and I married into military. So
I see.
um yeah, we ended up here and my husband actually just retired at the end of this past year with 20 years. So
Awesome. So he's done. He's gonna live the civilian life now.
kinda. He's a government contractor,
Oh,
so
I got you. I guess so he's still
mhm.
gonna be dabbling in it. So
Yeah,
awesome. So
pretty much.
how did what's funny, my wife is from Florida too, so she's in the Tampa, like I think Brandon area. So
It's really not far from where my parents actually live.
okay. How are things going? Well, specifically there, but also with you guys as far as the pandemic. How's that been?
Oh, it is. So thankfully, I have the ability to kind of travel freely during the
Hmm.
year. Um, so I do travel to Florida often, maybe
Hmm.
about 3 times a year. I'm there. I'm very close with my family, and
Right.
just black and white difference. Like it's really intense here. The lockdowns, they're very strict on their mask protocol, and I think they really use a lot of fear tactics here. I'm not saying that the virus isn't real. I truly do believe it is,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely Florida is very laid back compared to Hawaii.
Yeah, so what's funny is I would have thought the opposite, right? Like I would have thought because the cases are really high and like in the States and in Florida and stuff like that. I would have
Hmm.
thought, and Hawaii is known for being such a like just a like a relaxing place, at least to the people that are outside of Hawaii. That's how it's known for.
Yeah,
And I would have thought it'd been like completely the opposite, but yeah.
I just I think that too. And what baffled me was just we are, I think we're like 2,500 miles away from Cali. Okay. So our island is only 40
Hmm.
miles long and 28 miles
Yeah.
wide.
Yeah.
Um, we have some of the freshest air. Like, think about the clarity here. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful here. I would see people outside running in the beautiful Hawaii and they would have on masks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do that. I just can't
Yeah.
do it.
Well, I mean, especially if you're not around anybody, like there'd be no reason to like wear a
No.
mask. We yeah,
Yeah.
saw some of that too here, like where people would be walking like with a mask, but they'd be by themselves, and I'm like, I thought that was interesting. Like, I get wearing the mask when you're around people, other people that are not in your household, but
Yes.
if you're outside, I mean, that's, I guess. I mean, I guess if somebody just randomly runs up on you and starts breathing in your face,
I don't know, but we live zero point 0.9 miles from the ocean, like the
Hmm.
coast. Like I run to the ocean every day. So it's so breezy and
Yeah.
I don't get it. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, outside of the restrictions, you're really selling Hawaii pretty good. That's like I'm like, man, I wish I was like somewhere I could just run to the beach, and like
Oh,
the man.
it really is beautiful.
Hmm.
It's we invested in a drone, me and my husband, and just to capture like memories of our boys and
Hmm.
where we live, and our community is just so amazing here, and it takes a tribe. Like it truly is. Like everybody always says when you move here, like you either absolutely love it and you're staying forever,
Hmm.
or you can't wait to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's it. Hawaii is one of those places. We had some friends from our congregation that moved to Hawaii, and they love it there. Like it's
Yeah.
actually the husband was having some health concerns, and he's been always, he's had them for all his life. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, what his wife said was that Hawaii like made the climate in Hawaii made it better, so yeah,
I believe it.
definitely
The
something.
ocean, the ocean is a big healer. You know.
Hmm. For sure. So I guess let's talk about like the fitness aspect of this podcast. So how did you get into like training and fitness in general?
So I've always been very active my entire life. I've played softball, I've ran cross country, I did cheerleading, I did soccer, I did wrestling a little bit,
Oh, you wrestled?
and
That's funny. I wrestled for a long time, grappled for a long time.
a little bit. I kind of started out as a
Hmm.
mat girl, like the point system,
Yeah, yeah.
working the
Hmm.
books. And so you remember the point system. If you don't have
Right.
somebody for that weight slot, well, they have to forfeit. You still get points.
Hmm.
So I could just fill a slot, not really have to wrestle anybody. I did wrestle around with my teammates
Yeah.
um, in my hometown, but I was from a very small southern town, so
Hmm.
you know how that goes.
So where, by the way, where were you? Where are you? Oh, you said you're from Florida. I'm sorry. You said
Yes,
when you say
yes.
Southern, I don't think of Florida for some reason. I think of like, like I'm in Tennessee. I think of Tennessee. I think of Alabama. I never think of Florida when I think the South.
Well, that's because Florida's gotten a lot of hand lately. They've kind of
Hmm, that's funny.
they're doing their own
They're
thing.
turning it up. Yeah.
Yes. So I've always been very active, just all through high school.
Hmm.
But I think when I got into actually lifting was in 2015. I was
Hmm.
going through a really dark time in my life. I was going through a really hard marriage separation and custody battle. And on top of all that, I moved completely out of state, um, away from all of my friends and family, which was very new to me. And I needed something, I knew I needed a positive outlet. I come from a background of very deep mental illness and depression and substance abuses. So I knew that, growing up, there was nothing that I wanted to do with. So fitness, as always said, is the most underutilized antidepressant that there is out there. I just kind of jumped in and I started doing like group fitness classes just
Hmm.
because I didn't really know what I was doing. And I picked up quickly. I really started with foundations, getting that good form down. And then I kind of just kept getting a little bit better and better. And then I kind of got interested in competing because I'd always done, competitive sports. And I've been in pageants since I was a little girl. I was actually,
Hmm.
I can't remember what year. I would have to look, but I was Miss Florida teen. I feel
Oh, wow.
old.
You don't look it.
Yes. So I have a pageantry background. So the stage presence was nothing new to me.
Hmm.
Um, and it just really dragged me out of a very dark spot. And then
Yeah.
I kind of realized that, the skills that I was building in bodybuilding, I could apply to my actual life.
Yeah.
And I love it. I know people don't get it. Like, why do you make yourself miserable? First of all, I tell them I'm not miserable. Whoever's miserable isn't doing it right. um, but it really did. It saved me. It
Yeah.
dug me. It has continually dug me out of some very deep holes.
Mhm.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and
Yeah.
I'm just glad to have it. And I'm so excited to see where I go and who God is creating me to be.
Hmm. Yeah, I find it interesting when you talked about like background and substance abuse and things of that nature. It's amazing how like you could be from a family like that, and it's like usually like one of two things happen. Either a person goes like completely opposite of that, or like they fall right into the same pattern. And
Yeah,
it's in training, athletics is a huge motivator for people to do better. Like I've noticed that with people that have dealt with those kind of issues, it's like training for them is almost medicinal, and it's hard to explain, like you said, to people that don't understand that.
yeah. It's a high that you can't that nobody else can give to you but yourself is the best
Hmm.
way that I can explain it. And this 2020 was just full circle for me. To give you kind of a little bit of backstory, I have always been very quiet. about what I do, or, plans that I may have, preparation, and not because I'm scared, or
Mhm.
I've just always kept my head down and kind of kept quiet. Um, I do come from a big family, like I was telling you, of mental illness and depression and substance abuse, and it's just something that I've always kind of carried with me. And just, if I bring attention to myself, I may bring attention to that. So it's kind of something that's just very touching to my heart and very sensitive for me. But I'm trying to actually be more open about it, because
Sure.
close people that I have shared it with, they're like, you have to tell this, like.
Right.
So my mom has struggled with alcoholism and substance
Mhm.
abuse, probably a majority of her life, from her teen years. And I believe that what that was caused from is, my grandfather actually was suffering, with mental illness and depression, and committed suicide when she was 12. My
Oh.
mother was the one who found him. Um, Back in those days, it was very taboo.
Mhm.
We don't have resources like we do today. And I see that. Like, I've seen the effects of it for years. Like, not with just my mom, but my grandmother, with my aunt, with my uncle. They all handled it in different ways, and
Mhm.
it's just sad. To this day, it is still very sad. So a few years ago, my mother got into an accident. Nobody else was hurt. She pretty much had to relearn to walk again.
Mm.
um, Alcohol was a factor in this accident. My mother did have repercussions, and she did have to serve jail time.
Mhm.
My mother was sentenced 2 days before my prep for the Arnold.
Mm. Mhm.
So even halfway around the world, I would still talk to my mom every day. There's that parent bonding. You forgive, you forget. Like, it's amazing what we as people can, like, forgive. Like, that's what
Mhm.
we are here to do. Like, you're here to forgive and grow and learn. And I'm 110% for that. But it was just heartbreaking. I would usually talk to my mom on my way to my gym sessions, and I didn't have that anymore. And
Mhm.
I just remember wearing a lot of hats in the gym and doing a lot of praying. And like, sometimes I'd be crying during my sets, but somehow lifting that weight felt like, if I can lift this, like, mentally, I can handle anything. And I went to Arnold. I took on three different divisions. I did figure, wellness, and bikini, which, wellness and figure were completely new to me. I got fifth place in wellness at the
Oh,
Arnold,
wow.
fifth place in figure at the Arnold, and I got seventh place in bikini. So three different looks, three different divisions, three different routines. I had never even put on a figure suit
Mhm.
until that day. Um, and it was motivated by a lot of heartache.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's understandable. I was to throw back to yours, the beginning when you were talking about your mom finding, your grandfather. People don't like really understand the kind of trauma that could cause to a young person to find that. It's like it's things that you don't even see it. Like it happens in the mind, and often like when things happen in the mind, people don't take it seriously because things like a broken arm or this and that, it like that's visible. People see, oh, well, that's that hurts, but they can't. Often they exclude what happens in the mind, but that's so uh, detrimental. Like it's like if something happens in the mind, it could cause a ripple effect for many years, which is what it sounds like. That was what was going on with your mom. It's like it was like
it
she was coping with that trauma that she's experienced.
Oh, so much. And it's so heartbreaking. And I don't think it's something that you ever heal from. I think it's something that you learn to live with.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. And that's what do you think, like was there like a lack of um communication in the family? Is that you think that might
um
contributed to it? I don't, and I'm just asking because
like, for the
obviously,
healing process,
right? Yeah,
or
yeah,
I think that, again, I think that, you know, my mom's in her 50s now. So back then it was a little bit of a taboo subject. And
right.
on top of this, my they had just moved to a new state. They weren't even originally from Florida. They had moved
Mhm.
from Tennessee.
Ah,
My grandmother had never worked a day in her life, and she
yeah.
just moved to a new state and has 3 kids that she's now responsible for.
Yeah.
Um, I just think it was, all around, she just didn't have support. There weren't
Mhm.
research outlets. Nobody's talking about it. Like nowadays, we can ebook anything.
Yeah.
How to fix this? What
Yeah.
do I do when this is happening? They didn't have that, and
Yeah.
I mean, technology is amazing. It's super scary too, but but you know what I mean. Pros
Yeah.
and cons to everything, and my mom is getting help
Mhm.
today, and I'm
Mhm.
super proud of that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pick my words carefully because I get so emotional talking about it.
Of course. No,
Um,
I understand. Mhm.
but I just hope, like, I am built from a foundation of strong women,
Mhm.
and sometimes even strong women need reminders that they're strong.
Yeah. No, very, very true. And you always have to remember that like anybody could be in like a situation like that. It's not um nobody is above, falling prey to alcohol. Nobody is above like falling prey to like all these things that are around us that are detrimental to your health and your mind and everything like that. I mean, like, just a surface material, like, in my family there's alcoholics. I mean, I think you would have a hard time finding too many people that have, you know didn't have family members that struggle with alcoholism or some kind of substance abuse, because that the world that we live in, it's accessible, and it's the number one thing that people go to when they're struggling with something.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but that's what happens. And the fact that she has a daughter like you that's always there for her no matter what happens. You're there to support her, you're there to comfort her. When she has a setback, you're still there. She doesn't have to be concerned about any. Again, I don't know your mom's life, so it's hard for me to
Yeah.
hard for me to make like these kind of statements. But sometimes what happens is when people deal with those like issues, and they deal with them for quite a while, people tend to like keep distance from them. Like eventually they all of your friends are gone, like they're not no longer your friends, and this and that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that happened with your mom or not, but I do know that obviously you, as her daughter, have not, and you're continuously there, even as you're progressing in your fitness industry and things like that. And by the way, placing that high up in 3 different divisions is really cool. I just talked to a girl just recently, and she also in her amateur career placed in like physique, figure, and fitness. And that's a big deal. Like that's to be able to place with one look in 3 different divisions. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen very often. So congratulations to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you. It all kind of came full circle. I
Hmm.
did well this year. I mean, even despite the pandemic, it was I went to nationals and I got third, and I missed my pro card by one spot.
Hmm.
And I was set on like being done for the year. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
fine. I was like, I really just wanted to enjoy. I was going to be in Florida for another 3 weeks, and somebody convinced me like maybe 5 days after nationals. They're like, you got to do this show. Everybody had been trying to convince me to do it. I was like, I really don't want to do it. Like, I
Hmm.
just really wanted to be home.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Yeah.
be home. My mom was actually home, so I wanted to spend time with her. Um, but I prayed about it and I did it. I was like, okay, I'm already pretty much peaked. I was like, I just need to maintain. I was like,
Hmm.
I can find balance in this and do it. And however we do, it's gonna be fine no matter what. Like, um, but it was just so great. My mom was actually there
Hmm.
um to watch me.
Yeah.
She watched me win my pro card, and just to look at everything that I went through for the Arnold, like getting there and not having her, and then for her to see me all come back in 2020.
Mhm.
And when my pro card, it was just amazing. It was, I can't even get over like the cloud that I'm on.
Yeah,
It
that's
just felt,
awesome.
it
Mhm.
was because I Hawaii was locked down. We had no gyms. Like I have a complete outdoor gym, but I did have a gym access. But I had to get up at like 2:45 in the morning
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
travel an hour into time in
Yeah.
order to go to the gym and lift what I needed to lift. So it was something that I wanted to do, but it was also something that I needed to do. Like, this is
Mhm.
my mental outlet. So again, it all ties back to mental health. And I meant to tell you also, me and my husband actually host a ride called the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. It's
Nope.
actually hosted all over the United States.
Mhm.
They get dapper, but it is it raises awareness for men's mental health and suicide awareness
Mhm.
or suicide prevention. I'm sorry, getting on my tongue
No, no,
tied.
no worries. Mhm.
um, and also men's prostate cancer. We have done that. My husband, me, we've been married 5 years. He's probably been doing it for 9.
Mhm.
And within the last 2 years, he's raised over, or maybe it was last year, $30,000
Wow, that's a lot.
on
That's
his own, not as
yeah.
his team. Like
Just
he
by
raised
himself.
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's huge, and that's a big deal. The suicides is getting worse and worse, and all across the board. As far, I mean, men, women, I mean, the kids. It's
Everybody.
yeah, it seems like people are finding that to be like their way out, and it's well, like I used to work on the police department for Vanderbilt in Tennessee here. It's a big
Well, thank
university.
you for your service.
um and we like we're not like like metro police or anything where we deal with like hardcore criminals or anything like that. We're dealing
Mhm.
with it's a campus police.
Yeah.
So we deal with a lot of kids, like school kids, and the hospital there. um and man, whenever you see like finals, or like the time for finals or the time for midterms, suicides go through the roof
Oh,
because
pressure.
yes, absolutely. And you got to think like some of these kids are like, these are your the parents are pressure. Some of these kids have been sent there on the last dime. Like some people come across the world to go to Vanderbilt, like, and their whole village is like chipped in to send them here. Like, they're the hope of whatever family.
There's some very
Yeah.
inspiring and motivating stories to be told,
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so if you're not, if it's getting difficult and you're not doing as well as you thought, for a young person, that kind of pressure is very can be very like
Hmm.
debilitating, and yeah, suicides go through the roof during that time, unfortunately. It's very sad, very sad. And yeah, so that's, I mean, amazing that you guys are like involved in that kind of work. Why the prostate cancer? I get the suicide, the part of it.
So my husband, it's actually very everything always ties in. It's God
Mhm.
works in so many different ways and bridges so many things together for you. Prostate cancer, my husband's father actually has
Mhm.
it,
Oh, wow.
survived it. I believe he has it again.
Mhm. Oh, he has it
It
again.
seems like the older age you get, yes.
Mhm.
But it was originally just started out as raising money for men's prostate cancer. Well, a few years ago, they added in men's mental health and suicide prevention. And this just so happened to be the year that I have a very good friend named Amy. And Amy is a beautiful blended family of 5.
Mhm.
And her husband's name is Carlos. And me and my husband and her were all very close. Um, we were actually discussing doing this ride together this year. They had been making arrangements. And one day, Carlos took his own life.
Mhm.
And that year, it was announced that that would be added to it. So it was just something very heavy on my husband's heart. My
Sure.
husband actually realized that he was kind of suffering from some things of his own, and he reached out and got help. He went
Mhm.
to therapy. He looked into different medications because sometimes medication isn't for everyone.
Mhm.
Um but it was just really,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's it's a tough subject. It's very deep and
It
very
is.
heavy subject, especially when you're, when you're talking about people in the like abstract term, like in general terms, people you don't know, it's like you don't feel it. But then when it's somebody that like that's in your family or that your friend,
It
it hits
hits
so
so
hard.
different.
Yeah.
She,
Yeah.
they ended up, my husband ended up flying to Florida that year,
Hmm.
and he ended up riding on Carlos's bike.
Hmm.
Carlos has a really old school BMW bike. It's so cool. It's a classic. And my best friend Amy actually rode with him,
Oh wow.
and they had shirts and everything made. Yeah, so
That's nice. Yeah, that's
it
awesome.
was, yeah, a beautiful. She is one of the most beautiful people that I've met.
Hmm.
She says, God promises you a beautiful life, and whether that's tragic or not, it's still a beautiful story
Hmm.
to be told and to learn from and to grow and to inspire. So God bless her. She is just beautiful inside and out. I don't know how she handles everything that she does. She's a nurse practitioner. I always say she's a doctor.
Yeah, that's nurses are some of the toughest people I know too. They have to deal with so much and like in
Yes.
their work, and they see a lot, and so it doesn't surprise me that she's a nurse. That's tragic, but I'm glad that she's kind of overcoming it, and I'm glad that your husband is doing better with that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so, not to pivot into something that's like a little lighter, but
Oh no, you're totally fine. Like I said, it's been something so on my heart and
mhm,
like in my life that I can talk to people about it, and
yeah, yeah.
that's fine.
I, I
I'm
love
totally.
I love having conversations this deep, but
Mhm.
it's interesting because it's like so it's hard once you get into this deep subject,
Oh yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
hard to like go back into like, hey, so
Turn it back
yeah,
around. Yeah, you go.
yeah.
You're okay.
So I was going to ask you, what did you get your pro card in? What division did you decide?
Wellness.
Wellness. And
Yes.
what was the decision maker for that?
Um,
Like, well, why
I
did you
just
choose
knew
that division?
I picked I picked wellness because 1 year at Universe, I was competing in the bikini division, and guy who works backstage and who's big in the NPC and IFBB industry,
Hmm.
he found me after prejudging. I didn't know him, and
Hmm.
he just kind of he told me, he's like, please keep going. He's like, you are gonna get it. He's like, 2020 is gonna be your year. I didn't even know this man.
Hmm. Yeah.
But he just told me, he's like there's a new division coming out, and it is wellness. And when they came out with it, everybody was like, that's you, that's you, that's you,
Hmm.
that looks just like you, that looks like you, look, those are your legs. I was like,
Hmm.
all right. I was like, we'll give this a try. So going into Arnold, I was making my decision on where I was going to fall,
Hmm.
in the league. Am I bikini, am I figure, am I wellness, like where do I need to be? So I looked at how many people were in my class for each division, and wellness obviously had the most, and I placed no better or worse than
Hmm.
figure. And I knew I didn't want to put any more size on for figure, and the poses are a little bit
Yeah.
harder for figure, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're tough, especially standing there like that
Well, and trying to just completely make your body, like,
hmm
the slightest imbalance on your
is
left or right side is just going to completely make you wonky. So
sure.
I've
Sure.
I've broke my left arm like twice. So
Oh
I feel
wow.
like
You've been punching people? Like, what's going on?
I've been on that trampoline.
Oh, well, yeah, that could do it. Trampolines, I'm pretty sure trampolines are the most dangerous things to ever exist. I had a buddy that I went to the gym with, older man. He said he was jumping with his grandkids, and he's not like 90 years old or nothing. He's just probably in
Mhm.
his, mid 50s, late 50s, just slightly jumping with his grandkids, landed, and all of a sudden he said both his quads. That's It's not funny, but I'm just chuckling because both his quads and like parts of his hamstring have just completely like tore off, and he like couldn't move, was paralyzed. Not paralyzed because of his back or anything, but paralyzed because the muscles were no longer attached. And so it was a long road to recovery. He
Yeah,
ended
how
up
does that happen?
no clue, just a freak, freak
Do I need to be
accident.
worried?
Yeah, to try to avoid jumping on trampolines. That's my advice to everybody. After I heard that, I'm like, no, never, never.
Or like I
Yeah,
can't risk it. I
yeah.
can't risk it.
Thankfully, he's better, now. But of course, it was a very long road to recovery. So,
Yeah,
anyways, that was a sidebar there for anybody who wants to jump on trampolines, but
don't do it.
don't do it. But yeah. So you decided. So you said at that point, you basically went wellness.
Yeah, I decided that wellness would just be my thing. I had already built my upper body up a little bit just for figure. I was
Hmm.
already pretty, like the X factor
Hmm.
that you're trying to
Yeah, like
get on
main.
stage for bikini because I had been doing bikini for so long. And um, I just jumped in. And I think that going to nationals, I lost my pro card. I missed it by one spot because
Hmm.
I think that I was showcasing wrong. I think it was all my posing. So I'd been so used to doing bikini girl poses, and I'm looking to make myself narrow here, smaller
Hmm.
here, because I have quads. I could not even touch them and still have
Yeah.
quads. Um, and I was done with it. I was like, I'm hiring Kenny Welch. And he did just a few tweaks with me before I went to the Olympia.
Hmm.
And he was like, you're spot on. So he just really, it was very small tweaks that he adjusted for me. And they were actually a lot more comfortable than what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I just wasn't used to seeing myself showcased as a wellness athlete. So I'm
Mhm.
so eager to like tap more into that. And, now that I'm pro, I believe I have like a 30-second routine for stage time.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm
So you
excited to like,
you have to develop that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think. I'm not really sure. There's
Yeah,
still
I
so much
don't know. Yeah, that's why I was like, I'll take your word for it. Yeah, I'm not
there's
sure.
so much. I mean, I would assume bikini's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So um there's so much out there that hasn't been released, like the Olympia qualification system, like what are the tiers, not all the
Hmm.
shows are out yet, so
Well, it's so
it's just so
new. Yeah.
oh, it is so new. I'm so eager though. I'm like
Yeah.
waiting
Yeah.
patiently.
So at this point, are you gonna? It is new. So are you gonna try to develop your build? Like, are you working on anything? Or are you just gonna keep your look the way it is until until you get compared with, on the professional stage?
I have had a lot of people ask me. Um, I can't narrow down for you. I can narrow down a couple things for you specifically. I will be working on bringing up my quads a little bit in size.
Hmm.
This isn't me getting any feedback. This is just me kind of
Just thinking. Hmm.
critiquing myself, and I feel like I do a good job of that. Of it looking and adapting, but I do have other eyes that glance over me as well. But um, I will try to build my quads up some more. Obviously, I'm going to keep working my glutes and hamstrings just as before.
Yeah.
Upper body can really be softened. Um, they really like a petite upper body,
Hmm.
and just very toned. They don't want to see striations. Um, and I'm known for bringing in a good waistline, but I want to bring it in a little bit more. So I'm going to work on that and probably doing some more vacuuming.
Yeah, just
Um,
tightening your waist up.
I just want to polish everything off. That's what I'm
Hmm.
going to be doing.
Gotcha.
Nothing differently. I think that they like the I did do a big dramatic change from nationals to the amateur Olympia with my look. I tend to like to be a little bit edgier, and it's just kind of who I am as a person. Um, but I toned down my hair a little bit.
Hmm.
I just softened everything up. I didn't do such dramatic makeup. I gave them a very soft, natural glam look,
Hmm.
um, and just kept it clean and classy, and it
Hmm.
it paid off.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So you must have hit it on the button then, exactly what they were looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Awesome. Do you have an idea of um like is there a show that you were thinking of or a month that you were thinking of competing in this upcoming
Uh,
this well, I guess not upcoming year, this year. We're already in 21.
I think that I'm still praying on it, but I have been since Pittsburgh Pro has been announced that they will be having the wellness, and that's
Mhm.
Jay's show. Uh, I mean, I think it would be great for my first pro show.
Yeah.
I kind of had an idea in mind of like what I wanted to do and grow and focus on, and have a little bit of time to eat so I can have the ability to push that weight. I already eat
Mhm.
pretty well through prep to begin with, but
Yeah.
actually having it just my little off seasons, or I don't even call them off seasons, I call them training with purpose because I just get to eat more
Mm.
and I get to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's still goals. There's still goals that are, running through my mind like, okay, this is what you have to do to be where you want to be later.
Mhm.
Um, so I said that my earliest show would be May. The Pittsburgh Pro was announced. I was like, oh, I was like, God. And I just kept thinking about it and thinking about it. And little things throughout my day just kept kind of popping up, like little reminders from God. Like I won a Cardelio weight belt.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, but what was funny was I
Those are really
promised,
nice.
oh,
Excuse me for
it's
my
super
voice.
nice. But what makes this crazy is I had told myself forever that I was not going to get me a nice weight belt until I
Mhm.
went pro so I could put my title on it. And I did. And it was right around Christmas. So my husband ordered me my personalized one.
Mhm.
And apparently at some point I had entered a giveaway. So in 1 week, I ended up with two
Oh, wow, that's
weight
awesome.
belts.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
one came in,
yeah, those are
they're
really good, nice
nice.
belts. They're no joke. They're like legit.
I got one that's a Olympian oak,
Mm.
and it is, I was like, oh, this is comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. I've had some
My
weight
husband
belts
was mad
that
I wouldn't give it to him.
that's funny. I had some weight belts that are like terrible. I'm like, why did I even get this? This is horrendous. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
important. Like weight belts, as far as comfort, is important because you're cinching it in real tight. You want it to be
Hmm.
as comfortable as you can. So.
Yeah. So that came in the mail that day. And then I was sitting around, I was watching something with my kid on TV. And, when I usually do my shows, I usually look like, okay, you know, is this first geographically, I'm all the
Hmm.
way in Hawaii. I need to take that into account because these are long flights.
Yes. Yes.
and
Mhm.
I have little ones to account for while I'm gone. So really the less time away is the better for me. Like I can't tell you all my national shows. I've caught red eyes like the night before check-in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean I'm pushing limits like everywhere. I pack up all my kids and take them with me to shows too. But like I'm not scared.
That's
So
fun.
it was, but I planned it ahead, and there's this show that we were watching, and they were said, the audience comes for the offense. Anybody can play defense, but they want to see that you can strike first. And it was just like a light bulb in my head
Hmm.
because Tyler said, in the announcement video, the head judge, he's like, all the heavy hitters for wellness of 2020 are going to be there. And I was like, I am one of those. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going for it.
That it's
So,
that's cool because that's like a mindset, right? Like you're not just a competitor in the wellness division. You're one of the first level of these pros that are turning pro in wellness. So you are like elite at this division right now. So like you said, you are one of those. Why not go ahead and step up there and see how you do.
I feel like sometimes I think that, we don't believe in ourselves quite as much as we can. And I think that I'm going to start doing that a little bit more. I've always been
Hmm.
very, hard on my training, hard on my diet. I follow everything to a T, but somehow, in the bodybuilding world, it's always like, I could do more. I could be better.
Hmm.
Sometimes you miss those milestones where you're like, hey, like, appreciate this right now where you
Hmm.
are. Like, this itself is an accomplishment. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Very true. Very true. Well, Shawnee, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do the show. I know it's really late there, so or I'm sorry, really early.
It's really
Not
early.
it's late here. It's early there. So again, I appreciate it, and especially talking about your family and the struggles
Yeah.
that you've overcome to get to where you are. I'm sure a lot of people would love to hear about that. And again, as a a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
me. I
you.
really appreciate it. And I'm sorry for the mix up last week.
No, no, it's fine. It's tough with people that are like on vast time differences. I have the same issue with like the like Europe and like different
Mhm.
places in Asia. It's like because Australia is huge like problem because it's like I can never get the timing right, you know.
They're
So
like a day. Yeah.
yeah.
Some of them are like a day ahead of you.
Yeah, they're in the future, literally.
So it's so complicated.
Yeah.
Like your brain's like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's and so and I think I get it right, and then I when the time for the show comes, they're like, "No, this was like 5 hours ago that you were supposed to be on this show." I'm like, "Ah," you know, it
All
is what it
right.
is. All right,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, yeah.
thank you
That's
so
okay.
much. You take
Thank
care.
you.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.